I want to begin this story by telling you something simple, something true, and something I hold deep inside me. I love my partner. And when I say love, I don't mean the light, fleeting kind that comes and goes with convenience. I mean the kind of love that roots itself into your bones. The kind of love that makes you wake up every morning and feel grateful that you get to share another day. Another laugh, another meal, another quiet moment with someone who feels like home. My partner is not just a person I live with. They are the one I have chosen, the one I continue to choose, and the one I will choose tomorrow, next year, and for as long as I have breath in my lungs. That is the truth I want you to carry as you listen to the rest of my story. Because without it, everything I'm about to say could be misunderstood. You see, the truth is rarely simple. We like to think of love as clean, straightforward, a line we draw and never step outside of. But human beings are not so neat. We are messy, complicated, and layered with instincts and desires that sometimes clash with the promises we've made. And while I want to make it very clear that my loyalty is unshaken, my heart has never strayed, and my actions have never betrayed, I cannot deny something else, something smaller, quieter, but powerful enough to make me wonder about myself. I notice, I look. I see beauty in the world, and sometimes I linger. Now, if I left it at that, you might be quick to judge. You might think, here we go, another confession of infidelity. But that's not what this is. I have never cheated. I have never wanted to cheat, and the very idea of hurting my partner that way makes me feel sick. What I'm talking about is more subtle, more complicated, and perhaps more human than we like to admit. It's the way my eyes sometimes wander when someone passes by with a face that catches the light just right, or when a stranger's body moves with a kind of rhythm that demands attention. It's the fleeting thought, wow, she's beautiful, or that's a stunning smile, or her body is incredible. And though the thought lasts a second, my gaze sometimes lasts longer than it should. That's where the trouble begins. Because while I know it doesn't erase the love I have for my partner, while I know it doesn't lessen my commitment, I can't help but ask myself, is this wrong? Let me take you back to an ordinary day, the kind of day that means nothing and everything at once. I was walking downtown, the air was crisp, the sidewalks were busy, and I was in no rush. People brushed past me in all directions, each carrying their own lives, their own stories I would never know. And then, just for a moment, someone crossed my path. A woman, probably not much older or younger than me, with a face that seemed to shine with its own light. She wasn't famous, she wasn't extraordinary, at least not in the way the world usually defines it. But to me, in that moment, she was magnetic. My eyes caught hers, then slipped downward, then lingered far too long before I forced myself to look away. And the strangest thing is this: the moment passed. She kept walking, and I kept walking. But inside me, something stayed. Not desire, not longing, but a knowing question. Why did I look so long? Why couldn't I just glance and move on? When I came home that evening, my partner was there, waiting like always, with warmth in their eyes and comfort in their smile. Dinner was on the stove, music played softly in the background, and life was exactly as it should be. And yet, tucked somewhere in my chest, hidden even from my own words, was that little guilt, that little sting that whispered, if your partner knew where your eyes had been today, how long they had lingered, would they feel betrayed? It's a dangerous question, isn't it? Because I know, logically, that love and attraction are not the same thing. Love is choice. Love is action. Love is loyalty. Attraction, though it's instinct, it's biology, it's the spark of recognition that someone else is beautiful. And yet, our world often tells us that even noticing someone else is a betrayal, that to love is to be blind to everyone else. But is that really true? These are the thoughts that swirl around me in quiet moments. When I lay in bed at night, my partner sleeping peacefully beside me, I stare at the ceiling and wonder, does loving one person mean you should never see the beauty in another? Does looking make me a bad partner, or just a human one? Now, before I go any further, I need you to understand my partner. They are not perfect, no one is, but they are everything I could ask for in love. They are patient with me when I am restless, kind when I am sharp, forgiving when I falter. They are my anchor when the world feels too chaotic, my safe place when everything outside feels cold. With them, I am home, and I do not say that lightly, because in a world filled with billions of people, finding one person who feels like home is a miracle. I never thought I'd be lucky enough to hold, so how can I reconcile that miracle with the fact that sometimes, on some random street or in some crowded room, my eyes betray me? I don't chase, I don't act, I don't even speak of it, but my gaze tells a story that my heart does not. And that, my friends, is the crack I cannot stop staring at. In these moments, I feel divided. One part of me insists that it's natural, that noticing beauty is no different than admiring a sunset or a painting. The other part of me whispers that it's dangerous, that even silent glances can carve away at the purity of my love. And in that tug-of-war, I am left asking, what does it mean to be faithful? Is faithfulness the absence of attraction to anyone else, or is it the choice to remain devoted despite those sparks? This is not a story with villains or heroes. There is no betrayal waiting around the corner, no affair hiding in the shadows. This is a story of a man who loves, who chooses love every day, but who is also honest enough to admit that his eyes are not always saints. And maybe, just maybe, that honesty matters more than pretending otherwise. Because if I have learned anything, it's this. Love is not about being flawless. Love is about being aware of your flaws and choosing, still, to protect what matters most. Love is the steady hand you place in another's, the promise you keep even when no one is watching, the loyalty that does not waver even when your eyes do. That is where my story begins, not with betrayal, not with scandal, but with a question. A question about love, about loyalty, about the human heart and its endless contradictions. And if you stay with me, part by part, through the hours ahead, you'll see that this question is not just mine. It belongs to many of us, because somewhere out there, someone is listening right now and thinking, yes, I've felt that too. Have you ever found yourself caught between two worlds? The love you know in your heart, and the way your eyes wander on their own. That's me. That's the part of myself I don't always talk about, but I think it's important to admit. I love my partner. Truly, I'd never betray them. But sometimes, these moments sneak in, moments where instinct takes the wheel. I remember one summer afternoon. I was sitting in a little coffee shop downtown, the kind with warm lights, soft jazz humming in the background, and big glass windows that let you watch the city moving outside. I had my iced black coffee in front of me, my phone on the table, and then she walked in. A stranger, young, vibrant, with her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail and this effortless smile when she ordered her drink. At first, it was just a glance. just the way you notice someone when they walk into a room. But then she moved toward a table by the window, and the sunlight hit her face just right, highlighting her cheekbones, making her look like she'd stepped out of a photograph. And my eyes, they stayed, longer than they should have, longer than I meant them to. In that moment, it was like my brain shut down. No thoughts, no comparisons, no intentions, just admiration. Pure and simple, beautiful. That was all I thought, until suddenly guilt hit me like a punch in the chest. I pulled my eyes away, grabbed my phone, pretended I was checking messages. My mind started racing. Why did I stare? What if my partner had been here? Would they feel betrayed, even by this small thing? That's the tricky part about instinct. It's not planned. It doesn't ask for permission. It just happens. Like a gust of wind you didn't see coming. You don't go looking for it, but it sweeps you up anyway. It wasn't the only time. There was another day at the beach, with friends. The sun was setting, painting the sky orange and pink, and the whole shoreline glowed. People were laughing, running, tossing frisbees. And then I saw someone in a white dress, standing by the water, hair blowing in the breeze. She looked like a painting, a fleeting moment of perfection. My eyes lingered. They just did. But then I turned my head, and there was my partner, standing right next to me, laughing with a drink in hand, the same sunset light wrapping round their face. And it hit me, the beauty that makes you pause, that steals your attention for a second, that's temporary. The beauty you choose, the one you come home to, the one that makes you feel safe and alive every day, that's what stays. That's what matters. Still, I'd be lying if I said these moments stopped happening. In office meetings, I'd sometimes notice a co-worker's flowing hair. Or, in the grocery store, a young mum with a gentle smile. Nothing inappropriate. Nothing more than a second of admiration. But those seconds, they made me question myself. Am I unfaithful in spirit, even if my actions are loyal? I spent nights turning this over in my head. I started to understand something about instinct versus choice. Instinct is human. It's not something you can completely control. Your eyes notice, your brain reacts. That's just how we're wired. But real love is a choice. Loyalty is a choice. And choice requires intention. So yes, my eyes wander sometimes, but my heart, my commitment, that never wavers. I might notice someone else is beautiful, but I always choose my partner. I always come back home, the guilt, though it's still there. And I think the guilt comes from fear. Not that I've done something wrong, but that I might not be good enough for the love I've been given. My partner deserves someone perfect, someone who never falters, never wavers. And I'm not perfect. I'm just human. One night I decided to be honest. We were sitting together after dinner, the soft glow of the lamp over the table. My chest felt heavy, but I knew I had to say it. So I confessed. I told my partner that sometimes I notice other people. Sometimes my eyes linger longer than they should. I braced myself for anger, for hurt, for disappointment. But instead, they just smiled gently, took my hand and said, "You're human. So am I notice people too. I notice other men. But at the end of the day, I choose you. That's what matters." That answer cracked something open inside me. It felt like a weight lifting. Love isn't about denying instinct. It's about rising above it. No one walks through life without noticing beauty. But real love is knowing, deep down, who your forever person is. From that moment on, I started seeing those quick flashes of attraction differently. I stopped torturing myself over them. Instead, I let them remind me of what I already knew. The world is full of beauty, but none of it compares to the beauty of trust, loyalty, and the bond I share with my partner. And yet, that's not the whole story. Because sometimes, instinct pushes further than just a glance. Sometimes, it tiptoes closer to the line between loyalty and betrayal, not in action, but in thought. And that's where the shadows creep in. You know that moment when the room goes quiet, but inside your head it's louder than ever. That's where I found myself. I had just caught my eyes lingering on someone who wasn't my partner. And the second I realized it, the guilt came rushing in like a wave. It wasn't the kind of guilt that someone else could see. My partner didn't know. No one around me knew. From the outside, I looked calm, maybe even distracted. But inside, I felt like I had broken some unspoken rule. My heart tightened, and the same questions kept circling in my mind. Why did I do that? Why did I let myself look? Am I betraying the person I love just by letting my eyes wander? That guilt doesn't leave quickly. It lingers. It creeps back late at night, when you're lying next to the person who trusts you the most. And you can't help but wonder if you deserve that trust. I'd look at my partner sleeping peacefully, and my chest would ache. I wanted so badly to believe that a glance meant nothing. But to me, it meant something, because it forced me to confront a truth I didn't want to face. The truth was this: temptation isn't always about action. Sometimes it's about thought. Sometimes it's about that 2-second stare you know you should have cut short. And no matter how brief, it leaves a mark on you. It makes you question yourself. I started to analyze everything. Was this just human nature? Was I overthinking it? Plenty of people look right. But why did I feel like I had crossed a line, even if only in my head? I thought about the vows I made, or at least the silent promises. To be loyal, to give my partner my whole heart. But what if loyalty isn't just about what you do, but also what you allow yourself to dwell on? That thought haunted me. And then came the spiral of fear. What if she ever found out what went through my head? What if she could see the way my eyes wandered when I thought no one was watching? Would she see it as harmless, or would she see it as a betrayal? That fear was the shadow I carried with me. It followed me into the morning coffee runs, into dinners out, into quiet moments at home. And the worst part? I couldn't talk about it. How could I look into the eyes of the person I love and admit, sometimes I stare too long at someone else? So I bottled it up. I smiled when I was supposed to smile. I laughed at the right times. And deep down, I carried this quiet guilt, like a secret weight pressing on my chest. But here's the thing about guilt. Doesn't just stay quiet. Over time, it shapes you. It makes you hyper-aware. Every glance becomes a test. Every passing stranger feels like a moment of truth. And I began to realize, if I didn't face this, if I didn't dig into why I was feeling this way, it would eat me alive. This wasn't just about looking. It was about understanding what it means to love, what it means to stay loyal, not just in action, but in heart and mind. And for the first time, I started to ask myself, am I strong enough to handle this temptation? Or am I too weak to deserve the love I've been given? That was the battle I was fighting, silently, every single day. There are nights when I can't sleep. I'll lie there with my eyes open, staring at the ceiling while the room is completely still. And yet inside me, it feels like a storm. My heart beats faster than it should. My thoughts won't quiet down. And it's not because of work stress or money worries or anything like that. No, what keeps me awake is fear. A very specific kind of fear that I can't shake. It's the fear of being discovered now. Don't get me wrong. I haven't cheated. I haven't even wanted to cheat. My love for my partner is real and it runs deep. But every now and then, my eyes wander. I notice someone passing by. I linger a second too long on a stranger's face or their body. And even though it's only a glance, even though I never act on it, that's enough to send me into a spiral. Because the thought hits me hard. What if she saw me just now? What if she caught that look in my eyes? Would she feel betrayed? That possibility terrifies me. I imagine her reaction, the woman I love, the woman who trusts me, completely turning to me with eyes full of disappointment. Not anger, not rage, but disappointment. That quiet kind of hurt that cuts deeper than shouting ever could. And the thing is, I know it wouldn't be because I had done something unforgivable. I know she wouldn't be reacting to betrayal in the traditional sense. But trust is delicate. Sometimes it's not the big things that break, it hits the small ones. It's the subtle cracks that start forming long before anyone notices. And I'm afraid of being the one who causes that crack. I've come to realize that trust can be even more fragile than love. Love, in many ways, can survive storms, arguments, distance, misunderstandings. But once trust is shaken, love has to fight uphill to survive. And that thought alone is enough to keep me on edge. When we're walking together through crowded streets, I feel like I'm living a double life. On the surface, I'm the devoted partner holding her hand, making her laugh, enjoying her presence. But beneath the surface, I'm tense. I'm constantly scanning myself, terrified of slipping. Terrified that one stray glance will undo everything I've worked so hard to protect. It's like walking a tightrope where every step has to be perfect, because one misstep could send me tumbling down. The harder I try to control it, the worse it gets. I catch myself overthinking every movement, every flick of my eyes. I force myself not to look, not to notice anyone else. But the effort feels suffocating. It's like holding my breath for minutes at a time. The more I suppress it, the heavier it presses down on me, and then the self-doubt creeps in. Am I being ridiculous? Is this just human nature? Do other people feel this way and just not talk about it? Am I punishing myself for something that's completely normal? I've seen other men joke about it. I've seen them elbow their friends and laugh when someone attractive walks by. For them, it's nothing. It rolls off their backs. They don't spend the rest of the night staring at the ceiling, wondering what it means for their soul, their character, their relationship. But me, I can't do that. I can't laugh it off. I carry it with me, and it digs deeper the longer I hold on to it. Sometimes, I wonder if I've put my relationship on such a high pedestal that even the tiniest flaw feels catastrophic. Maybe I'm too sensitive. Maybe I overanalyze every little thing. But underneath all those maybes is one simple truth. I don't want to lose her. And that fear, that single, unshakable fear is what drives everything. Because I know how fragile love can feel when doubt enters the picture. I'm scared that one day she'll catch a glance, a hesitation, and it will plant a seed of uncertainty in her heart. And once that seed takes root, it might grow into something that overshadows everything else we've built together. So I keep quiet. I don't confess. I don't burden her with this inner war. To her, I'm the same as always, the partner who laughs, who listens, who holds her close. But inside, I'm carrying this secret fear, this weight that only I can feel. And silence, while it feels safer, comes with a cost, because fear doesn't just sit quietly in the background. It grows, it spreads, and over time, it begins to shape how you see yourself, how you see your relationship, even how you see love itself. That's the shadow I live with. Not the fear of doing something wrong, but the fear that even my thoughts, even my passing glances, could be enough to destroy the thing I treasure most. And no matter how much I tell myself it's nothing, that shadow is always there, reminding me how fragile everything really is. The strange thing about life is this: the harder you try to bury something, the louder it gets inside your head. Since that fear took hold of me, I've been living in circles of thought. Every day, every quiet moment feels like I'm trapped in a maze, searching for a way out but never finding the light at the end. I love her. I have never questioned that. But sometimes love doesn't feel like a warm blanket. Sometimes it feels like a mirror, one that magnifies every flaw, every weakness, every crack in your soul. And every time my eyes linger too long, that mirror reflects something back at me I don't want to see. Shame, guilt, like I've committed a crime no one else can see but me. And so the questions begin. Questions that sound simple at first, but the more you sit with them, the heavier they get. What does loyalty really mean? Is loyalty just about action, about not cheating, not lying, not crossing physical lines? Or does it reach deeper into the hidden corners of your mind, the thoughts you don't speak, the glances you don't mean, the fleeting imaginations that never go anywhere? If loyalty demands perfection, then none of us are truly loyal, because we're human. And being human means sometimes we slip, even in the smallest ways. But if loyalty is only about action, does that give me permission to let my eyes wander once in a while, as long as my heart never strays? Where's the line between instinct and betrayal? I've watched men around me, friends, co-workers, make comments, laugh, point out attractive women like it's nothing. For them, it's harmless fun. They don't lose sleep over it. They don't go home at night and question their character. But me, I can't let it go that easily. For me, every glance feels like walking a thin line, one step away from falling into something I promised I'd never become. Why can't I just be like them? Why can't I laugh it off? Why can't I be one of those men who shrugs and says, "Hey, looking is natural"? Why do I punish myself for something so small? Is it because I'm weak? Or is it because my love is so strong that even the smallest slip feels dangerous, like it could ruin everything? These questions chase me in circles, and the more I think about them, the more alone I feel. It's not that I'm unloved. Quite the opposite. Her love is steady, warm, undeniable. And maybe that's exactly why I can't confess this to her. Because if I did, I know I'd hurt her. Even if I told her it means nothing, you're the only one I love, the seed of doubt would still be planted. And once it's there, you can't unplant it. Some cracks, once they appear, can never be smoothed over. So I stay quiet. I carry the weight by myself. Outwardly, nothing change. So I laugh, I smile, I hold her hand. I make sure her world feels safe, whole, untouched. But inside, I'm that wanderer in the desert, thirsty for relief, unable to ask for even a drop of water. There are nights I stand in front of the mirror, looking at my own reflection. I see love there, yes, but I also see exhaustion. I see a man tired of fighting a battle no one else can see. I ask myself, am I the one making this harder than it has to be? Am I turning a fleeting glance into a war inside my head? And yet, the answer is always the same. Fear. I'm afraid of losing her. I'm afraid of hurting her. I'm afraid of breaking the fragile glass of trust, knowing once it shatters, it can never look the same again, so I stay silent. I let the questions pile up with no answers, no release. I hold them like secrets pressed against my chest, secrets that both protect her and isolate me. The shadow of fear doesn't leave. It changes shape. Some days it's faint, almost invisible. Other days it looms so large I can barely breathe. But it's always there, reminding me that love isn't only sweet. Sometimes love is fear, fear so sharp it hurts. Fear born out of loving someone so much that the very thought of losing them feels unbearable. And that, more than anything, is the burden I carry. Here's the truth I've been learning. Love isn't just about how you feel. Love is also about responsibility. It's about the promises you make, the trust you're given, and the man you decide to be every single day. And yet, when I look at myself in the mirror, I see the cracks. Not cracks in my relationship. No, she and I are solid. The cracks are inside me. From the outside, everything looks normal. I wake up, go to work, come home. We eat dinner together, laugh at shows on Netflix, curl up on the couch like any other couple. To anyone watching, it looks like a peaceful life. And for the most part, it is. But inside me, there's a storm I can't shake. That storm doesn't roar all the time. Sometimes it's just a whisper, like when a pretty face passes me on the street, or when I notice a woman with that kind of presence that makes people turn their heads. I tell myself to look away, and I do. But the guilt lingers, like a shadow I can't outrun. So I ask myself, where's the line? Where does instinct end and betrayal begin? Is loyalty only about actions, never cheating, never lying, never breaking the rules? Or does loyalty run deeper into the quiet corners of the mind? If I never act on these glances, am I still faithful? Or am I already guilty the moment my eyes wander too long? The hardest part is her trust. She trusts me completely. When she looks at me, there's no doubt, no suspicion, just faith. And that's exactly what terrifies me. Because if she ever caught even one look, just one moment of my eyes staying a second too long, it could plant a seed of doubt that might never go away. And once doubt takes root, love is never quite the same. So I've started training myself to avoid temptation. When I'm walking down the street, I keep my eyes forward. In groups of friends, when the conversation drifts toward attractive women, I stay quiet, laugh it off, but inside I feel heavy. It's like I'm constantly proving something to myself, as if one wrong glance will undo everything I've built. At night, when she's asleep beside me, I sometimes just lie there, watching her breathe. I'll brush my hand gently through her hair and remind myself, this is what matters. This is the only woman I want. This is the only woman I need. And in that moment, I believe it with every part of me. But the morning comes, and the world comes rushing back in. A stranger walks by with a striking smile or confidence in her stride, and instinct pulls at me again. I turn away quickly, like someone who's touched fire. But even then, the guilt sticks. The outside world feels like a maze full of temptation, while inside me feels like a battlefield. On one side, love, trust, commitment. On the other, curiosity, instinct, and the kind of fleeting desires that leave small scars no one else can see. Sometimes I feel like I'm standing on a cliff. One wrong step, one slip, and everything I value most will crash. That fear makes me careful, maybe too careful. But here's the cruel irony. The more careful I become, the less free I feel. It's like I've built a cage for myself out of love and fear, locking myself inside with rules so strict I can barely breathe. I love her so much, it scares me. I'm terrified of losing her, but that fear also makes me weak. I used to think love made me stronger, more confident. Now, I sometimes feel like love has exposed every vulnerability I have, stripped me down to a man who second-guesses every glance, every thought, every choice. The line between love and instinct is so fragile. Every day feels like a balancing act. And I don't know if I'll ever find true peace in this. Will I become strong enough to finally silence the storm inside me? Or will I spend my life tiptoeing along this fragile line, afraid that one misstep will cost me everything? There are days when I feel like I'm living in two completely different worlds. On the outside, life looks perfect. I wake up, go to work, come home. We make dinner together, talk about our plans. Sometimes it's about getting a bigger place. Sometimes it's about where we'll travel next summer. We laugh at shows, curl up on the couch, share little routines that anyone on the outside would call happiness. And they'd be real at least from what they could see. But inside me, it's chaos. It's like I'm stuck in a dark room with no windows, pacing around, searching for a door that doesn't exist. In that room, the shadows are made of my instincts, the wandering eyes, the fleeting thoughts I don't say out loud, the pull of attraction I wish I didn't feel. And the only light is her, the love I have for her, that tiny glow in the corner of the room, keeping me from getting swallowed whole. Sometimes the shadows are faint, like a haze you can almost ignore, but other days they're thick, pressing against me, filling every corner of my mind until I can barely breathe. I'll give you an example. One afternoon, I was sitting in a coffee shop, waiting for a client. There was a woman at the next table, not stunning, not someone you'd call the most beautiful woman in the room. But there was something about her face that caught me, held me, just long enough for me to notice I'd been staring. And right then, it was like a siren went off in my head. There it is again. What the hell are you doing? I looked away, buried my face in my phone. But my heart was pounding, and in that moment, I felt like I'd already betrayed the person I love. Not in action, but in thought. And that was enough to make me feel dirty, guilty, like I was living a double life no one else could see. That night, lying next to her, watching her sleep so peacefully, I couldn't close my eyes. I just stared at the ceiling, asking myself, am I cheating on her just by thinking? Does a single slip of attention count as betrayal? The questions wouldn't stop. And the more I asked, the more I saw a different version of myself in the mirror, one I didn't like. Not a bad man, not an evil man, but not the pure, faithful man I wanted to be. Instead, I saw someone split in two, one half deeply in love, the other half dragged by instincts he couldn't quite control. And then the worst thought crept in, if she ever knew. If she could read my mind, would she forgive me? Or would that innocent trust in her eyes shatter forever? That's when I realized something subtle had started happening between us. I was pulling back, not in obvious ways, but in the small, quiet ones. I didn't talk about what I was struggling with, of course not. But the silence, the hiding it, created a distance. A space she didn't even know was there, but I could feel it growing. Our love started to feel different. Still there, still strong, but layered with something heavier. When we walked down busy streets, I wasn't just enjoying her company anymore, I was policing myself. My eyes forward, my smile fixed, my every move calculated so I wouldn't slip. The more I tried to control myself, the more exhausted I became. And that exhaustion leaked into the way I touched her, the way I kissed her, the way I responded to her. Not enough for her to call it out at first, but enough for her to notice something was off. And she did notice. One night over dinner, she put down her fork, looked me straight in the eye, and asked softly, "Is there something you're not telling me?" My chest tightened. I wanted to tell her everything. I wanted to spill it all out, the guilt, the fear, the storm I'd been carrying inside. But the words that came out were the exact opposite. No, everything's fine. She didn't push. Maybe because she trusted me, maybe because she didn't want to corner me. But her silence cut deeper than any argument could. It was as if she handed me more rope and I used it to build another wall between us. That night, I felt like a coward. Not because I looked at another woman, but because I couldn't face the one I love with the truth of who I am. So I keep carrying it alone. I keep letting it grow in the dark. And when I stand in front of the mirror these days, sometimes I don't recognize the man staring back. I see someone who's constantly tense, constantly afraid, constantly worried that one slip, one mistake, will destroy everything he loves. And that's when the darkest question hits me. Is my love turning into a cage? Instead of freeing me, is it chaining me to fear? That's when I realize how far I've wandered into this maze. I need an escape. I know that. But what kind of escape is there? Do I risk everything by confessing, handing her a burden she never asked for? Or do I keep it all locked inside, slowly letting the shadows consume me? I don't know. God, I really don't know. All I know is that when I look into the mirror, the darkness is still there, staring back at me, waiting patiently for an answer I can't give. There are mornings when I wake up, roll over, and see her still asleep in my arms. The soft light slipping through the blinds paints her face in this quiet, delicate glow, almost like a photograph I wish I could freeze forever. And every time I look at her like that, my heart twists in this strange, painful way. Not because I don't love her, God. I do, but because I love her so much it terrifies me. I'm terrified of breaking something so fragile, so pure in her eyes. I'm still the man she trusts, the man she believes would never hurt her, never stray. But in my own eyes, staring back at me from the mirror, I see someone more complicated, a man who's steady on the surface but struggling with these waves crashing inside him. Waves he doesn't want anyone to see. The cracks between us started small, not from fights, not from betrayal, but from silence. From the things I kept buried, the thoughts I was too ashamed to say out loud. The moments when my gaze lingered where it shouldn't. That silence was sharp, and little by little it cut into what we had. One night, we went to a friend's birthday party. The place was loud, packed with people laughing under this warm golden light. She was right there beside me, her hand in mine, but for a few seconds, my eyes drifted. I noticed a woman across the room, and I stared too long. Just a moment, nothing more. But she felt it. Her fingers tightened around mine. Not in anger, different. And she never said a word. She smiled, kept chatting, acted like nothing happened. But I knew. She knew. Later that night, back in our room, the silence was deafening. She sat on the edge of the bed, slowly taking off her earrings, placing them neatly into the little box she always uses. I stood there, frozen, afraid to speak. Then she asked quietly, her voice soft but piercing, "Is something going on with you?" I swallowed hard, forced myself to keep my tone steady. "No, I'm fine." "Really?" She gave me this thin smile, not the one that lights up her whole face. No, this was different. It was the kind of smile that scared me more than if she had yelled, because it felt like resignation, like she already knew something was slipping away, but didn't want to put it into words. From that night on, the distance between us grew, not through big arguments or slammed doors, but through tiny things. The way she turned her back to me in bed, the way she stopped asking about the little details of my day, the way her laughter, once so easy, began to feel rarer. Every time I noticed it, it was like watching cracks spread across glass. The pain doesn't shatter right away, but you know, it's only a matter of time before the pressure gets too much. And inside, I punished myself. Every stolen glance, every second my mind wandered where it shouldn't, I drowned in guilt. Every quiet moment she spent, lost in thought, I told myself it was because of me, because I was the one killing her trust, slowly, silently. Some nights I couldn't take it anymore. I'd sneak into the bathroom, stare at my reflection in the mirror, and what I saw wasn't the man she believed in, it was someone tired, hollow, with eyes that looked lost. I'd grip the sink, breathing hard, and ask myself, who am I turning into? And do I even recognize this version of me? I thought about confessing, about laying it all out, the thoughts I hated, the looks I couldn't seem to stop. But every time I imagined her face hurt, disappointed, maybe even broken, I backed down. I wasn't brave enough to risk destroying us with the truth, so I stayed silent. But silence became its own kind of prison. Every day I woke up scared. Scared she'd catch me in a glance I couldn't disguise. Scared that one slip, 1 second too long, would be the blow that shattered everything we built. Love was supposed to be safety, a refuge. Instead, it turned into a battlefield between me and my own mind. Every kiss, every hug carried this invisible weight, the weight of pretending nothing was wrong. And then came the thought that truly haunted me. Am I turning this relationship into a cage? Are we both suffocating inside something that's supposed to set us free? That question never left me. It followed me everywhere, while I was at work, while I sat across from her at dinner, even while she laughed at some show we used to watch together. It pulsed in my chest like a ticking clock. I know one thing for sure. If I keep going like this, something will break. Maybe me, maybe her, maybe both of us, and what terrifies me most is this: if the glass does shatter, I don't know if we'll have the strength to pick up the pieces. Some days, I feel like I'm living 2 separate lives. By day, I look like any other guy. I go to work, I come home, I eat dinner with her, we laugh about little things. But underneath that surface, there's this shadow I can't shake. A shadow that grows bigger, darker, swallowing up every quiet corner in my head. I remember one evening after work, I was walking past this small coffee shop, and for just a second, I locked eyes with a stranger inside. She had this bright smile, eyes that seemed to shine with their own light. It lasted only a moment, but my heart pounded. My body reacted in a way I didn't want it to. It felt like betrayal, even if I hadn't moved a muscle. I dropped my gaze instantly, sped up my walk, and kept repeating in my head, what the hell is wrong with me? Why did I let myself even look? When I got home, dinner was already waiting. The smell of soup, sautéed vegetables, felt warm, familiar, safe. She looked up at me and smiled, asked how my day was. I smiled back, gave some quick answer, pretending nothing had happened. On the outside, I played the role of the loving partner. On the inside, I felt like a criminal. After dinner, we curled up on the couch to watch a movie. She rested her head on my shoulder, her arm around mine. Everything about that moment should have been perfect. But the guilt, it was suffocating. I kept asking myself, if she knew where my mind wandered for even 2 seconds today, would she still be resting her head on me like this? That night I couldn't sleep. I lay awake, listening to her breathing beside me, staring at the ceiling, my mind running in circles. Part of me wanted to confess, to get it off my chest. But another part was terrified the truth would shatter her trust, maybe even destroy us completely. The next day, I tried to find another way out. I buried myself in self-help books, listened to podcasts, searched for advice, how to control temptation, how to keep both your eyes and your heart loyal. I wrote notes, I tried meditation. I tried avoiding situations where I might slip, but the harder I fought, the more these moments showed up, like they were testing me. Once, we were at the grocery store together, just doing something ordinary, and out of nowhere, my eyes drifted toward someone walking by. When I realized it, panic shot through me. I grabbed the cart handle so tightly my knuckles turned white, pretending to study the shelves. My heart was racing, pounding loud enough I swore she could hear it. Did she notice? I don't know. She went on, comparing fruit, talking about what to cook for the week, acting like nothing happened. But deep down, I had this sinking feeling. She saw more than she let on. Her silence felt like a mirror reflecting back my weakness. The following days, I spiraled into endless questions. If I truly love her, why do my eyes still wander? If I'm loyal, why do these impulses still flare up? Can love and human instinct ever exist without tearing each other apart? The more I thought, the deeper I sank. Then one weekend night, while we were cleaning up after having a few friends over, she suddenly asked, "Do you ever get tired of being with me?" I froze, my chest tightened. That one question cut straight to the fear I've been hiding. I rushed to her, pulled her close. "No, never. You're the only peace I have." She smiled, but there was this flicker of sadness in her eyes, something I couldn't ignore. That was the moment I realized she already sensed the darkness in me. She couldn't name it, but she felt it, and for the first time, I wasn't just guilty, I was scared. Scared that if I didn't face this, I wouldn't lose her to another man. I'd lose her to myself, to my own inability to control the shadows inside me. That night, I sat alone long after she fell asleep, and it hit me, if I want to keep her, if I want to save this love, I can't keep burying the truth. I'd have to face it head on, no matter how raw, no matter how ugly. And in that silence, in that darkness, I knew the moment of truth was coming. Some secrets don't just live inside you, they grow, taking root in the quiet corners of your mind until they begin to define the way you move through life. For years, I carried mine like a shadow I couldn't escape. It followed me through laughter, through dinners, through moments of intimacy. And though I tried to convince myself it was nothing, that it didn't matter because I never acted on it, The truth is, it mattered to me. It mattered because guilt corrodes from the inside out. That night, when the weight of it became unbearable, I finally decided to speak. The house was unusually still. No hum of the TV, no music in the background. Just silence, heavy and waiting. The living room was dim, lit only by the soft amber glow of a single lamp. She was there, on the couch, sitting with her legs tucked beneath her, a blanket draped loosely around her shoulders, a cup of tea on the coffee table in front of her. She looked peaceful, and that peace made my heart ache because I was about to disturb it. I sat opposite her, my palms slick with sweat, my heart beat loud in my ears. I opened my mouth once, then closed it again, as if the words might shatter the life we'd built. But I knew if I didn't say it now, I might never say it. I need to tell you something, I whispered finally. Her eyes lifted to mine, calm, steady, patient. Those eyes had always been my anchor, but tonight they felt like the mirror I had been running from. I swallowed hard. My throat burned. For a long time, I've carried this guilt. I've never cheated on you. I've never crossed that line. But there have been moments when I looked at other women too long. Moments when I thought something I shouldn't have thought, and afterward I hated myself for it. I told myself it didn't mean anything, but it did, because every time it happened, I felt like I was betraying you, even if only in my mind. The confession came out haltingly, like pulling thorns from my chest, one by one. When I finished, the silence returned, thicker than before. My breath caught as I waited for her response, bracing for anger, disappointment, maybe even the end. She didn't speak right away. Instead, she set her cup down with quiet deliberation, then leaned back, studying me. The seconds dragged out, until finally she said softly, I know 2 words. Nothing more. And yet they hit me harder than any scream could have. You. No, ISTAMMERED. She nodded. I didn't need proof. I didn't need anyone to tell me. I could feel it. The way your eyes shifted when we were out together. The way your hand held mine, but your focus seemed somewhere else. I noticed. I just didn't say anything because I wanted to see if you'd ever be honest with me. Shame washed over me in a flood. My head dropped, my shoulders sagged, and my voice cracked. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I love you more than anything in this world. You are everything to me. And still, I let weakness creep in. I never wanted to hurt you. I never wanted to make you doubt yourself. I've been so afraid that even my thoughts could ruin us. I expected anger. I expected the sharp edge of betrayal to show in her face. But instead, she surprised me. She shifted closer, reached out, and placed her hand gently over mine. Warm, steady, forgiving. Listen, she said, her voice low but clear. You're human. Humans notice beauty. That's not the crime. The crime would be forgetting who you belong to. I don't expect you to be blind. I don't expect you to never feel temptation. What matters is where your heart is, who you choose, and whether you keep coming home to me. And I believe you do. Her words cut through my shame, but not in the way I expected. They didn't excuse me. They didn't erase the guilt. They offered something deeper, mercy. Tears welled in my eyes. For the first time in years, I let them fall freely. It's you, I whispered, my voice trembling. It has always been you, and I swear I'll learn to keep not just my heart, but also my eyes, here with you. where they belong, she smiled then. Not the guarded smile I'd seen in recent months, but the real one. The one I'd fallen in love with years ago. Soft, luminous, forgiving. And it broke me in the best possible way. That night, lying beside her, I felt lighter than I had in years. The shadows I had carried were gone. I fell asleep to the sound of her breathing, and for the first time in forever, I didn't wake in the middle of the night, choking on guilt. But confession is not magic. It doesn't erase flaws. It doesn't make a man perfect overnight. It doesn't build trust back in a single evening. What it does is open a door to healing, to rebuilding, to being better tomorrow than you were yesterday. And that was enough. The next morning, sunlight spilled into our room, warm and forgiving. She stirred beside me, her hair messy, her face still half buried in the pillow. I watched her, memorizing the quiet strength in her even as she slept. And I whispered a vow just to her, but to myself. No more silent cracks. No more hidden shadows. No more letting guilt rot inside me. This love we have is fragile and strong all at once, and it deserves to be protected. It deserves to be honored. I will fight for it. Every day. I will fight for her. Every day, and for the first time in a very long time, I truly believed my own words.